Well, within the last hour, it's been announced that the Conservative Chief Whip, Andrew Mitchell, has resigned. He'd been under pressure for more than a month after it was revealed he'd clashed with police at the gates of Downing Street. In his letter of resignation, he's denied calling the officers plebs, but for the first time revealed what he did say and admits using offensive language. In what must be the most surreal resignation letter of recent times, he tells the Prime Minister, "I've made clear to you, and I give you my categorical assurance again that I did not, never have and never would call a police officer a pleb or a moron, or used any of the other pejorative descriptions attributed to me. The offending comment and the reason for my apology to the police was my parting remark, I thought you guys were supposed to effing help us. It was obviously wrong of me to use such bad language, and I am very sorry about it and grateful to the police officer for accepting my apology." And just to warn you, there is some flash photography in Carl Dinan's report.
At first, it was just a row about a gate. The Chief Whip always admitted he had shouted at the police who hadn't allowed him to take his bicycle through the main gate of Downing Street. But he never admitted using the word pleb. This was his first attempt to contain the crisis.
Good morning. Well, I want, first of all, to reiterate the apology I made last week. After the incident on Wednesday night in Downing Street. It had been the end of a long and extremely frustrating day. Not that that is any excuse at all for what happened. I didn't show the police the amount of respect I should have done. We should all respect the police. They do an incredibly difficult job. I've apologised to the police. I've apologised to the police officer involved on the gate, and he's accepted my apology. And I hope very much that we can draw a line under it there.
The police are very clear about what you said. You don't seem to be. Did you call them pleb?
I'm very clear about what I said and what I didn't say, and I want to make it absolutely clear that I did not use the words that have been attributed to me.
And in the end, that might be what forced the Chief Whip to resign, because the Police Federation were dogged in their pursuit of him. The Chief Whip even had to avoid appearing at the Conservative Party conference when it was next door to his own constituency. Yet still the story refused to go away. He tried apologising to the Police Federation in his constituency, but it didn't work.
Mr Mitchell, although he's once again apologised for what he did say outside 10 Downing Street, he's also repeated a denial of key elements in a police report. And for us that means, or the clear implication is, that police officers have been dishonest, but he will not tell us what he did say.
So what do you think should happen next?
I think Mr Mitchell's position is untenable. I think he has to resign.
The opposition, of course, exploiting every moment of the crisis, up to and including Mr Mitchell's appearance at Prime Minister's Questions on Wednesday.
Can the Prime Minister now tell us, did the Chief Whip use those words?
What the Chief Whip did and said was wrong, and that is why it is important that he apologised, and apologised properly. That apology has been accepted by the officer concerned. It's been accepted by the head of the Metropolitan Police.
But it wasn't enough. By tonight, the gate was closing on Andrew Mitchell's short tenure as Chief Whip. He resigned not because he was corrupt or incompetent, but because of a moment of temper in which he was allegedly rude to a policeman in a way many people thought said something about Conservative attitudes. In his letter of resignation, Andrew Mitchell categorically told the Prime Minister he did not use the word pleb.
Well, let's go straight now to our political correspondent, Michael Crick, in Westminster. Well, Michael, this is very much a breaking story. What more have you managed to establish?
Well, interestingly, when I bumped into Andrew Mitchell in the Commons last night, I was surprised by how relaxed he seemed in the circumstances. I now know the reason for that was that he essentially made this decision yesterday afternoon. He decided then to go home yesterday evening to talk it through with his wife and to sleep on it and confirm the decision in his own mind today. This afternoon, after the Prime Minister had come back from the European Council meeting in Brussels, the Prime Minister had returned to Chequers. Andrew Mitchell drove down to Chequers and told the Prime Minister face to face he didn't think in the circumstances that he could carry on doing the job. As he says in his letter, over the last 2 days it's become clear to me that whatever the rights and wrongs of the matter, I will not be able to fulfil my duties as we would both wish. And David Cameron quickly concurred with that decision. They exchanged their letters. We've heard a lot from Andrew Mitchell's letter tonight. In return, the Prime Minister says, as you've acknowledged, the incident in Downing Street was not acceptable and you were right to apologise for it. But David Cameron also holds out the hope that Andrew Mitchell might one day return to office. He says at the end of the letter, I hope in time you will be able to make a further contribution to public life. The Liberal Democrat Chief Whip, Alistair Carmichael, has just told me that Andrew Mitchell's done the right thing for himself and for the government. It clearly was not going to go away, and it was clearly taking a heavy toll on him personally. I think that what did it really for Andrew Mitchell was that he had surveyed many of his parliamentary colleagues. The feeling amongst the parliamentary party was that this really couldn't go on. And in particular, I think the problem was there were many members of the Tory whip team who felt it couldn't go on, that it was wrong that Andrew Mitchell carried on in position. It's, I think, fairly well known here at Westminster. The Deputy Chief Whip, John Randall, was very unhappy about the situation. Rumour has it he went to see the Prime Minister and told him he threatened to resign, although Mr Randall vehemently denies that story. But clearly there was unhappiness in the Whip's office about the situation.
And clearly this is not just about, one man and his career, it's also about the Prime Minister's judgment, isn't it?
It is about the Prime Minister's judgment. I mean, Andrew Mitchell was a key appointment in the reshuffle 5 weeks ago and involved in appointing many of the other new ministers in the reshuffle, a very powerful position. But David Cameron stuck by him. David Cameron doesn't like to lose ministers, not in the way that John Major and Tony Blair and Gordon Brown regularly lost them. This is only the second major loss, I think, on the Tory side since the election, along with Liam Fox. And also, I think the Tory party did not want to be pushed around, not just by the media on this one, but also by the Police Federation. The Prime Minister is now actively considering who the next Chief Whip is going to be. Francis Maude, the Cabinet Office Minister, has been mentioned a lot over the last few days. Another possibility, I think, is perhaps Philip Dunn, Defence Minister, who served in the Whip's office up until the time of the reshuffle. Possibly also John Randall, the Deputy Chief Whip. David Cameron in his reshuffles doesn't like a lot of disruption. If you promoted Randall, you probably wouldn't need to make many other moves at all.
Michael in Westminster, thank you very much for joining us and keep us posted. Well, I'm joined now on the phone by the Secretary of the Warwickshire Police Federation, Stuart Hinton, who was present at the meeting with Mr Mitchell last week. Stuart Hinton, you've been calling for his resignation. I mean, presumably you must be now satisfied.
Good evening. Mr Mitchell's made that decision, and I think he's made the right decision, yes. Did
you get any impression at the meeting that he was about to make this decision?
No, none at all, none at all. It was a very cordial and professional meeting where we had an exchange of views and we were able to ask him questions. He continued to deny using certain words, as I've said previously, but he still wouldn't tell us what he did say. And of course, once he said that, as far as we were concerned, it became an honesty and integrity issue, impugning the honesty and veracity of the report the police officers in Downing Street had made.
But the key thing is he's denied using the word plebs. The police say he did use the word plebs, so he's effectively called the police liars, hasn't he?
Well, yes, exactly. That's exactly my point, yes.
So does that mean that there are further questions to answer in your view?
Look, the government have wanted to draw a line under this for quite some time now. We've not wanted to... Well, exactly... Get my teeth into place, sorry. That's exactly what we've wanted to do, to be perfectly honest. And now he's fallen on his sword, if you like, then I think it's time to move on. And what the Police Federation really do want to move on to is the issue with the government that we have around the extensive 20% police cuts, which is going to have an effect on public safety and frontline officer numbers, which is where we really want to go, and what we should be discussing with the government, so, not these outbursts in Downing Street.
So relations between the government and the police still pretty tricky tonight?
Well, we clearly have opposing views around police reform and especially the level of cuts. So we've got education and defence being cut in the region of 7 to 8%. Police are being cut by 20%. And although the government are saying that frontline officer posts are being protected. That's certainly not our experience in the Police Federation. We're due to lose 16,000 officers by 2014, 2015. And I'll just remind you that that was the amount of officers that was needed to quell the riots last year in London. So real issues of public safety that we need to address with the government.
Stuart Hinton, thank you very much for joining us.